Hi dear audience, hope you would be fine. Today in this short video we would be discussing or talking on the elements of research thesis. Actually this writing, academic writing, is very technical and specific, and we have to deal with that accordingly as well. So the very first element which in the research thesis is supposed to be considered, that is the title of that your research. Research thesis is basically particular with the title, means the title should be precise, concise, descriptive, and very tricky one. It is suggested that your research topic should be from 10 to or 8 to of 21 words or the 20 words. It should not be more lengthy than the 20 words, and it should not be short than the 8 words. It is considered more appropriate between these two, the word limit of these 8 to 20. So when you are going to conduct your research, or you are going to formate your research proposal, then you should have to be very conscious of the selection of the words, choice of the words. They should be catchy, they should be attractive. The reader who is going to read your study, first he would see the title. If your title is not catchy and interesting one, and it's not innovative, then definitely your research is not going to be read by the readers, and definitely when you are not going to get the audience of your research, then it is of no use. So be very careful. Discuss with the experts of your study, means of the relevant field of your study. Discuss with your supervisor, discuss with your seniors when you are choosing the title of your research. And once you have chosen, means you have written, then write the different write that topic in different formats, in different sentences. Try to be change the words. For example, if I talk on the reflective teaching strategies, include the words the impact of. For example, you are going to trace out. It should not be what is the impact of teaching, learning, reflective teaching on language learners. Try to be like this one. The impact of teaching, reflective teaching strategies. So the word strategies would be more technical and more research oriented. When you say just teaching, learning process, so this word process is technical. But if you further delimit, some means what teaching, learning process includes a lot of things. But if you further delimit or specify your topic like the impact of reflective teaching strategies on learning skills, it would be more appropriate. Not learning, reading skill, writing skill, listening skill. Now see, if I say the impact of reflective teaching strategies on the learning process, this is too common. But if I say the impact of reflective based teaching strategies on 4 skills of the language, it would be more good and more specific. But if I say further specify the impact of reflective based teaching strategies on the listening skill, so this is more precise and accurate and categorized or cataloged topic. So on the choice of your research topic, you should be extra conscious and careful. So once you have made that, you have made your research proposal, then you have to, by the end of your research, you have to write the abstract of your research. Abstract is basically a brief summary of your thesis, highlighting the research objective, method, findings. Keep in mind that it should be like this, as it is written over here. Means what is the introduction of your first sentence of your abstract should be on your introduction statement, introduction of the topic. Then your objective should be there, your method, the method which you have used in that research. Means the symmetry of abstract should be in this format: introduction, research objective, method, findings, and conclusion. And it is suggested, basically it is the format of every university or academic institution, and general format of the abstract is that it should be 200 to 300 words. Or some research journals say that it should be 150 words to 300 words. It should not be more than that. But there are some academic institutions which are even in different disciplines. You are required to write your abstract from 100 to 500 words as well. As you know, that exceptions are always there, and academic policies and institutions vary from institution to institution and discipline to discipline. So the abstract provides readers with a snapshot of the research without going into the excessive details. And usually when we get published our papers, just abstract highlights your readings, your methods, and your findings as well. So after that abstract, you have to write the introduction of your study. Introduction basically deals with the background information of the research topic. For example, my work in PhD is on the cultural trauma. So from the very start, I have talked about the cultural trauma, that what's the cultural trauma and what is the relevance of cultural trauma with that of the incident of 9/11. For example, there might be some my audience or the listeners who might be working on some educational topic. So first you have to give the background of that topic, means from where it has started, through which stages or processes it has come to that, and then you have to present that your research problem. Means you are not going to review something, what's the problem on which you are going to conduct the research. For example, there might be some audio-visual aids who might have a good impact on the teaching and learning strategies in America. And that study has revealed that has a very positive impact, and that if you are going to trace out that impact on your own learners, then that definitely this would be your problem. That hypothesis has already been tested and verified. Now you are going to test that hypothesis or that theory in your own context. This would be your research problem or the question, and it establishes the significance and the relevance of the study. Similarly, in your introduction, you outline the research objectives and the overall structure of the thesis. You give the significance of the study, you give your hypothesis, you give your research questions, and then you just propose write a heading, the proposed model, the proposed study, proposed format or model of the study. Means your chapter number 1 would be, just write chapter number 1. Introduction, chapter number 2 literature review, chapter number 3 research methodology, chapter number 4 data analysis, chapter number 5 findings and conclusion. And this is a general format of research writing. But there are some universities who just ask their audience or the students to write the 3 chapters. One should be on introduction and the background of study, and that also includes the literature review as well. And then the second chapter should be on the methods and methodology and the framework, and the third chapter should be on the data analysis and the findings and conclusions. But as already I have informed you that it vary from person to person and academic institution to institution. But the general format of thesis is the 5 chapters. Chapter number 1 with the introduction, chapter 2 with literature review, chapter 3 with the framework and methodology, chapter 4 data analysis, and chapter 5 with the findings and conclusion. So then chapter number 2, starts that with the literature review. Literature review is basically the critical analysis of the existing research and scholarly works related to the research topic. Means from what perspective the research in this area has been conducted. I have heard the students and the research scholars that, sir, I could not find the literature review on this my work. For example, if you are going to conduct a study on some new novel which was published in 2023, so it never means that that novel a lot of articles should have been published on that novel. But if you are going to do the psychoanalysis of that particular novel which was recently published in 2023, then you have to relate the theories of psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis is not the new, and the different aspects of psychoanalysis are not new. But if you are going to apply that psychoanalysis on that novel, then you have to relate the studies of that psychoanalysis on what aspects, what are the concept of psychoanalysis which can be traced out in this work. So there is never the scarcity or the lackness of literature review. The world is full of literature review. So to this question or to this complaint that I could not find the literature review on this topic, that's faulty. So it demonstrates that the researcher's knowledge of the field and identify the gaps in the literature and justify the need for the current study. So by the end of your literature review, you have to give your own stance that this is basically the body of that literature, and my study would be an extension to this literature review. And as this body of literature review finds this particular gap, so my study is going to contribute in this gap in that relevant field. Then you have to talk about the theoretical framework. Means the theory. The theoretical or the conceptual frameworks presents the theories or the models or the frameworks that you underpin the research. It provides a conceptual basis for understanding the research problem and the guides the development of hypothesis and the research questions. Means how you would be conducting. For your understanding and clarification, one are the fields or the theories. For example, psychoanalysis is a wild study, area of study. Then you are going to conduct the Lacanian theory. Still that Lacanian and Freudian theory, there are two large theories, and we have the theorist as well. So from that Lacanian theory, you select a particular theorist, and then you explain his theory, and you say that I am going to take out the theory proposed by this man. For example, for your understanding, I give one more example. For example, cultural studies is a large area. So from the cultural studies, you take that Stuart Hall. Then you would be mentioning the Stuart Hall particular work which relates in which he has talked about that cultural representation, diaspora and migrant identities. Then you have to develop a discussion that this model I am going to use for my current study. So I hope that this would be helpful for you. We may have a separate talk on the theoretical framework and the literature review as well, and how to develop a theoretical framework. But I think for this, in a general sense, it is sufficient. Then are the methodology or the results. In methodology section, you have to describe the research design, data collection methods. Means, for example, how you would conduct your study, on what places you would conduct study, through which tools you have collected the data. For example, data collection tools includes the research questionnaire, find this observation, interviews, structured interviews, semi-structured interviews, unstructured interviews, or some observation or some data of already means a huge data. For example, if you are going to conduct research on the economics, for example, what is the economic development in the Pakistan since 2002 to 2022 of the 20 years, then you have to take out that data, official data, or the data data generating houses. So in this research design, you have to elaborate your research design, data collection methods, and data techniques as well. It should provide sufficient details for the readers to understand how the research was conducted and to evaluate the validity and reliability of the findings as well. You have to justify that by this method these findings are reliable and testable as well. And then you have to present in chapter 4 you have to present the results. The results section presents the finding of the research. It includes the analysis and interpretation of the collected data, often presented in the form of table, charts, and the graphs. Keep in mind that these table, charts, and graphs are reader friendly. You have to facilitate your reader. For example, if you write just data in that description without any table and chart, then your reader would be lost in your article. He would not be able to enjoy that reading. And never means that you have to just give your data in that table and charts and do not give the description. You have to give the description of the tables and the interpretation of that data below that chart or the graph as well. Means you have to basically facilitate your reader. For example, on the top you have to write the table number 1, then give the description of that table, and then there should be the table, and the table should be in a very comprehensive, legible, readable manner as well. And then by the end of that table you have to give the description of that table or the data which has been presented in that table. So the results should be organized and clearly linked to the research objective and the hypothesis. And then the last one, which is more significant or worthy to read, that is the discussion and the conclusion. You have to in this discussion section you have to interpret and explain the results in the context of research objectives and the existing literature. It discusses the implication of the findings, identifies the patterns or the relationship, and explore the possible explanations. The limitation of your studies and the suggestion for further research may also be included in this section. As you know, research is never means to just fill the some pages and put it into your college or university library. You get your degree and just go away. It is supposed to be significant. It is supposed to be significant in that field as well. It is supposed to be significant to the world as well. If you are, it is supposed to be significant for the further researcher as well in that field. For example, if you are going to conduct the research in the field of medicine, it is supposed to be beneficial for the doctors. It is supposed to be beneficial for the patient. It is supposed to be beneficial for the community at large, and it is supposed to be beneficial in that field of medicine as well. So you must be very much clear and concrete or clear in your discussions. And then conclusion. The conclusion should summarize the main findings of the research, discuss their significance, and address the research objectives. It may also highlight the contribution of the study, mention any recommendation for the practice or policy or suggestion area of the further research. For example, if you have tested a particular theory on some students, then you have to give your suggestion to the policy decisions, policy makers, to the educationists, to the teachers, and to the students as well. So this discussion and the conclusion is considered as the head of the research. As you know, man cannot live without head. A large body cannot head. without head cannot live or exist. So this discussion and conclusion is considered as the head of your research. So by the end of this heading and this, you have to give the references. There are different formats of references. One is called APA, MLA, Chicago, and many other more are there as well. So you have to follow the format of your universities. There are, if you are going to write a research paper, article, then you have to follow the format of your required research journals. Mostly journals or the research academic institutions adopt the APA format, some other as MLA and some other as Chicago. So if you are going to conduct research, where you are conducting research, first follow the guidelines of that academic institution, and then accordingly you can you have to cite the references in your thesis research accordingly. Then are the by the end you can include the appendices. Appendices is basically the material which you want to provide, the additional supporting material or which you have used for the conduct of that research. It can be included as raw data, survey questionnaire, interview, transcription, and other supplementary information. So the very most important is that specific structure and elements of the research may vary from one area to another area. For example, the research of science might be different from that of social sciences. The research of economics may be different from that of the medicine. So we always it is required that we should have to follow the guidelines of our academic institutions and the requirements, and also we have to consult our supervisor regarding these guidelines as well. But the journal format we have discussed with the elements of research are these one: abstract, introduction, literature review, framework, a methodology are the framework, and then data analysis, and then findings and conclusions, discussions, and then references. This is the journal. These are the journal elements in a research writing. Thesis are the articles which the researcher has to keep in mind. With this, goodbye. If you have any questions, you may ask me in the comment section as well. Bye.